It is lights out and away we go. Hello, everyone. I'm Arjun McCullough, joined as always by my very handsome, freshly shaven co-host, Adrian Huff. We've got three main topics we're going to get into this week. Wrapping up the Mexico GP, a lot of rumors. The rumors started early this year, and Brazil GP preview. But I noticed that you have the freshly shaven mustache, which is something rare for you. Is that because Valtteri Bottas also has a freshly shaven mustache?
It's gonna seem like that for sure, but the timing was just perfect. I shaved like 2 days ago, and just before we started recording, I saw that Bottas shaved. I'm like, damn it. And I was like, I'm just gonna think I just copied Bottas, which I mean, to be fair, I liked him with the mustache, so I feel like he should have kept it. I mean, I feel like people would say the same about me though. I don't know.
I don't
Look
know.
like
I
a
think
baby.
that's how I always feel when I freshly shave. But I don't know. Whatever your girlfriend thinks, that's all that matters. So you'll have to ask her. But yes, you got some. I like that the one driver covered up behind you is Max. And then, oh geez, those eyes.
I'll keep them covered most of the time.
Yeah, but I guess we can just get right into the Mexican GP wrap up quick because the man on I guess he's on your right, but on the screen he's on the left. Checo is probably the biggest takeaway from the race. Got a few things down here. Checo, Lewis, great job to finish second. Max, 16th win of the year, obviously very impressive. Danny had a great race, finishing 7th. And Lando, I think, went 17th to 5th, which pretty damn impressive, especially since he pitted before the red flag and didn't get the benefit of that. So, yeah, I guess being the Red Bull fan, any takeaways from Checo? I don't know. Just, yeah, any takeaways from that whole experience?
Man, I mean, it honestly, I think he was setting himself up to almost redeem his season, because I feel like if he had pulled that off and somehow miraculously gotten up to P1 or even right behind Max or Leclerc in P2, I think people would have like completely done a 180 on Checo. So it's hard for me to like completely just point my finger at him and be like, you moron, why would you do that? But I mean, that move in particular, I mean, he saw like a very small opportunity, and I really cannot blame him for trying to make that move. But I honestly feel like he still could have potentially pulled it off. I don't know if he would have maybe gotten up to first, but I mean, he went really, really deep in that first corner. So just trying to repeat what Max did back in 2021, and it did not work out. I like completely lost my mind when that happened. I just like I laughed, but I was also just like, like just very disappointed for him. And I know I was reading that like multiple people were leaving after the first lap, which is absolutely insane to me just as a Formula One fan. Like if both Red Bulls just were disqualified before the race, I mean, I'd be in my seat ready to go, But yeah, that was an insane first, just even first turn. But it also kind of ruined Leclerc's race to an extent. I mean, he somehow was able to still put up really good times with that broken front wing, but yeah, that still held him back a little bit and potentially made him lose P1, even though Max was absolutely charging for that at the beginning. But major shout outs to Daniel Ricciardo, Lando Norris, like you said. We're gonna talk about it. Just I guess we can go ahead. We're not really trying to keep it super structured, but I'll tell you something that made me really mad about the Mexican GP was the race director, because multiple times this whole season we've missed overtakes live, and they're doing this thing that I don't understand where we'll be watching midfielders and then we'll watch a replay from 10 seconds ago and start missing the race. It's like I wish we were just more on top of it and they could predict the action. But when Daniel was 0.016 seconds that's behind Russell in the last lap in the last corner, we saw none of it at all. And we were watching, I mean, no offense to Mercedes, but we were watching just them slow clap in the garage. It's just like, what's going on? Not saying that they shouldn't do that, but like, why are we seeing that when there's still people fighting? But I enjoyed the Mexican GP. What did you think about Mercedes' performance this weekend, though, or this past weekend?
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I think it's one of those ones where at the end it's like, I don't know, it wasn't that exciting, but then when you look back through all the stuff that happened, it was like, oh, actually, it was a good race. Um, Mercedes, I think Lewis did an amazing job. He's now 20 points behind Checo, so it's still within reach with 3 races and a sprint. Yeah, I think Lewis had a great drive. I don't know really what was going on at the end there, where he kept saying his tires were falling off, and they certainly did not fall off. In fact, he got fastest lap on the last lap. I don't know if they were sandbagging or what, but yeah, I mean, I think obviously I'm biased, but I think it's becoming more evident that there are 2 drivers that have set themselves apart, as in Max and Lewis, kind of setting themselves apart from the rest of the field in terms of like pure talent. I mean, we saw Alonso doing it a little bit earlier this year as well, and it's hard to judge him because their car's gotten so bad. But yeah, I agree with you. I would have liked to have seen that battle at the end, because even George admitted if there was one more lap, Daniel would have caught him. And I didn't even know it was really that close until afterwards, hearing that. So like, oh, that would have been nice to have watched. But yeah, overall, I'd say it was a good race. I'd say I'm looking forward to Brazil, because it's Lewis's, again, one of Lewis's favorite tracks. So probably maybe his best track too. So we'll see about that. But pretty much immediately after the Grand Prix, or even after Checo got knocked himself out of the race, there's the rumors. They've been going, but they're picking up pretty heavily. This week was crazy. I don't remember what day it was. It was just one after another. And it kind of all got started by this guy, Albert Fabregas, I don't know, he's Spanish, putting out a very cryptic tweet, which we talked about this, how much we hate when people do this thing, basically saying they know something, but they can't tell. Like, I know something big, but I'm not going to tell. And he had said, like, I just heard something in the paddock that I really hope is not true, but that it's shocking, and he doesn't, blah, 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 but he wouldn't say what it was. And then he put out another tweet afterwards saying that it was just kind of weird, saying that he, like, yes, it's something that you can infer by his tone that it was something that he doesn't like, so it's something he's hoping isn't true. But I don't know, it was just a very weird string of events that led to a lot of speculation. And Alonso is Spanish, and he got thrown right in the mix. He actually had a statement today that there's going to be consequences. So I don't know if maybe he's just not going to talk to this journalist anymore. Because from what I've seen, like, this Albert Fabregas guy was relatively, like, reliable up until this point. So it's kind of weird for him to do this. But I guess the leading rumor would be that maybe Alonso is either going to retire or go to Red Bull next year. You've been on top of all this. We've got a list of stuff, but I guess with that, we'll kind of go through that first. What is going on out there?
Yeah, the cryptic tweet, or tweet, sorry. I guess it's just what journalists do nowadays, but just putting out a statement like that is going, exactly what you're doing. I mean, in the context of the weekend, Sergio, I mean, his seat has been the talk of the season. And after another slip up from him, when the stakes were so high, putting out something like that is automatically going to make people speculate like crazy. So there's rumors, or people have been speculating, that Fernando Alonso, like you said, was going to retire. The prevailing rumor was that he was going to actually take Sergio's seat at Red Bull, which we both even said was definitely not happening. But the idea of that alone was very, very cool to see Max, or to think about Max going up against Alonso in the same car. To me, that sounds very exciting. Another rumor was that Sergio was going to go back to his team at Racing Point and do like a swap with Alonso, which I don't even know how that would work logistically and like with contracts. I've seen. We'll get back to the Strolls, because I feel like that's actually probably the most likely option. And
Yeah.
I've seen Albon. I don't think this had anything to do with the rumor, but I've seen rumors about Albon potentially being a very big front runner as a contender for Carlos Sainz's seat in 2025, because he's just been absolutely super impressive this season. So the idea of that's cool, but yeah, again, just pure speculation. Make sure I'm not missing one, but of course, Daniel Ricciardo's name's been thrown in there a couple of times. That's been the biggest theory, I would say, or rumor, not theory. I guess they're kind of the same in a
Yeah.
way. But yeah,
In this case,
they've been talking about how he might take Sergio's seat. There was people saying that Sergio was going to go to AlphaTauri, and I think he would retire before he'd do that. But an interesting thing is that Aston Martin, got too many names in my head. Aston Martin actually sold about 12% of a stake in their company, and that happened like the day after all these rumors were breaking, and people were saying like, "Oh, Lawrence is selling the team. Lance is going to lose his seat. Who knows what's going to happen?" And we've talked about it a little bit this season of how it's sort of been a rumor that he was going to sell the team and how potentially Saudi investors might continue to. I'm trying to be as not. I don't even know what to say. That's not again. Oh my lord, I'm trying to. I'm like on the verge of potentially digging myself into a hole here. But
yeah.
but sort of we've talked about how FIFA and the PGA, how these Saudi investors have kind of come in and tried to change the sport a little bit, and whether it's good or bad, that's your own interpretation. But there's been some talk that could be happening with Formula One, and while Lawrence Stroll did not sell his stake, they did sell that 12%. I do believe Lawrence owns 26% of the Aston Martin team, which is a majority stake. So as of right now, he is still the owner of that team, and his son is still the driver. But could that change by next season? I mean, it's crazy how we talked about there was like no silly or very little silly season this year, but now we're getting one extremely late in the game. And it's kind of a little shocking to me, honestly, that we're so late in this year. We only have 2 races left after this weekend. And after this month, there will be no more F1 for 3 or 4 months. So very sad. But yeah, just to throw it back to you, is there any of these rumors that have legs to you? Like, what do you think's the most likely one? Or do you think it's likely he heard something completely unrelated and just decided, oh, I'm going to get some engagement off this?
I think like there might have been like an inkling of something, because I can't imagine that Alonso is happy necessarily with Aston Martin's steep decline this season, and he has been one that's known to jump around from teams. It seems like whenever he joins a team, they turn bad. So I mean, if he wants to join Red Bull, I mean, maybe that's exactly the tonic F1 needs, because he joins the team and they always go downhill. So this year they started off well. So again, I'm saying this all to say maybe he overheard him getting mad at someone and like threatening to retire or wanting to go to another team or something. But I don't think that any of that is necessarily true, or that there was anything concrete that he's hiding. I think this guy just wanted to get the pat on the back if something crazy did happen, so he can say, "Oh, I knew about this first," which I don't know what quote that you feel like gives you, but I guess the tweet got a lot of engagement, so I guess he wins in the end, this Albert Fabregas guy. But yeah, in terms of that, I don't know. I think there's definitely something going on with the Strolls and Aston Martin, and whether that includes Alonso or not, I don't know, but I do think it's looking more and more likely, and I don't know anything. I'm just based on perception, that Lance Stroll doesn't really want to be there anymore, and if he doesn't want to be there, I don't think his dad wants to be there. So I don't know. I could see something happen like with that, whether it's next year or not. Yeah, I don't know. There's also a fake story about Logan Sargent getting re-signed. There was just a lot of stuff going around. I don't know, just sort of a weird week for it to happen. Usually it happens when there's like weeks off, or just a few weeks later when the season's over. Yeah, but as much as I guess, and then the Checo stuff, like even Red Bull today were very strategic with how they worded it. They said that they have no intention of replacing Checo next year, or like something like along those lines. They use the word intention, so they didn't. So they're already like, you could look at that and say like they're kind of leaving the door open, but
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think anything's definitely, as far as we know, nothing seems like it's concrete or set in stone at this point.
sure.
But
Helmet Did you see his comments on Fernando?
No, I did not.
Helmut Marko said in an interview he thinks that Fernando started the rumors himself. So we might be getting, people wanted Fernando to go to Red Bull, but we might see Fernando beefing with Red Bull, which I think is really, really funny. The Logan troll, it got me. I'm not even gonna lie, because I texted you. I was like, Logan re-signed, and immediately I was like, damn it, it's a troll. The person was very smart. They changed their name to Formula One, had the right profile picture, and they put like a emoji in there to look like the gold check mark or whatever. So when you're just scrolling on Twitter, it's just like your just first reaction is just to be like, oh my God, and react. Even Jensen Button liked that tweet. I want that to be known. Jensen Button very briefly liked it and then unliked it. You could see it on his profile. So even he was fooled.
I mean, it happens to the best of us. It's definitely happened to me. This year. People are good at it. It's annoying. And then people like rip on you when you get fooled by it. It's like, well, sorry for just believing what I saw.
Yeah.
You gotta like double and triple check now every time. It's a little frustrating. But actually, speaking of Jensen Button, I don't know, I'll just quickly mention it, that Braun GP had another new trailer drop. Obviously, that was Jensen Button was one of the drivers. It comes out November 15th. It looks really, really, really cool. The opening of the new trailer of the GP, Keanu Reeves being like, my whole life I've loved racing. I'm about to tell you a story you're not going to believe. I'm like, all right, where's this going? But then it cuts to like actual F1 footage, and it was good. But the starting was a little strange. But I guess, I mean, are there any other rumors or anything in that realm you want to talk about, or you want to start get into the Brazilian GP?
Yeah, I think we could jump into it. This has been it's weird to say slow news week because all the news has been rumors. But yes, I'm very excited for that documentary. The story of Braun, I mean, it's so perfect. So I'm very excited to watch all four parts and learn some new things, because obviously I wasn't a fan back then. So I've gone back and tried to learn some things, but getting the full experience, being able to be taken through that is going to be a good time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure. Even like the sound of the cars, it's like that higher pitch.
Oh, I know the V8.
I'm looking forward to that. Oh, maybe one day. Well,
V12s.
and then they'll never get back to that, but maybe the sound will come back somehow one day. Okay, so we got another sprint weekend. And I'll admit I'm even getting tired of them at this point, but historically Brazil has made good sprint races. Pretty tight, windy track. So hopefully Lewis can just keep reeling Checo in. But the times we got, this is again Eastern Standard Time, as we said, Friday practice 1, 10:30, qualifying 2 o'clock, Saturday sprint shootout 10 a.m., sprint race 2:30 p.m., and then the race Sunday at noon. So pretty good times, all things considered. And then obviously the next race is Vegas, which is weird times. But
oh my God.
What else? We got the circuit Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, but it just goes by Sao Paulo usually, like in the video game. But first Grand Prix 1973, 71 laps. Lap record Valtteri Bottas. He's got a lot of lap records for Valtteri Bottas.
He does. Such a good qualifier.
Yeah, he is. Let's see what happened last year. Oh, yeah, but George Russell won here last year, and then Lewis came second. Max had damage, but he ended up finishing sixth after all that coming back. Oh yeah, this was when they wanted Checo to. There was lots of drama here last year. They wanted Max to let Checo through, and he wouldn't. And then they got in a big argument.
Oh, I forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah. We shall see what happens this year.
Yes. Some good memories at this track. I'd say, I mean, I talk about the Red Bull Ring and Spa a lot, but as far as tracks that I enjoy driving, this is in my top 3 for sure. It's one of the most entertaining tracks to drive. It just has so many different types of sections. And like you said, it's made for amazing racing. I mean, even way back watching highlights, Senna, Lewis wore his famous outfit dedicated to Senna today. I say famous because he's famous for his outfits, not the outfit itself. But Yes, another thing that I actually forgot about was Kevin Magnussen got pole here last year, which
Oh,
is just absolutely crazy to me because it started raining, I guess, right? Because
yeah.
he was one of the few people to actually set a decent lap. So just a reminder that anything can happen in this sport. And even if you're at the back, you can still get like a pole position. I know Nico was probably like, damn it. But still very,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. What do you think in terms of predictions and hopes or dreams? What do you want to
So
see this weekend?
another reason I'm very excited is because even as a Red Bull fan, I say this every week. I always say as a Red Bull fan, and then I root for their demise. Red Bull seem
Yeah,
to always screw up their setups here. I mean, they never seem to always get it right. At least the last 2-3 years, I remember Max always complaining about the setup and the understeer. So maybe they don't absolutely nail it on the head this weekend and they have a little bit of trouble. I would just really, really like to see something like last year. Not necessarily George Russell. If I think this is Lewis's shot this weekend to get his race win. He needs it, and I want to see it happen. And it would be absolutely epic to do it again here after I rewatched the highlights from 2021. That is, I mean, I think the Formula One account posted and said it's one, or somebody posted and said it's one of the most underrated races of all time. And I agree with that. No matter if you think it's not underrated, it is. It is one of the coolest. I mean, I remember watching that live and being like, "Son of a bitch, he's gonna do it. He's gonna catch up." And this was peak Max hype for me. He was chasing the championship. Such an entertaining season, and I mean, I had to put my hands up and just absolutely just bow down to him. That is by far the best race performance that I have seen live. I mean, I cannot understate, and I know you probably fully agree, but like just that throwback was
yeah,
unbelievable, unbelievable. But this year, I I think I think Lewis is going to do well. George has had a lot of self-inflicted, admittedly, a lot of troubles this season, so I think this is going to be a decent week for Mercedes, and McLaren are just really, really crushing it. I mean, Lando had really, really great pace, even though he didn't qualify very well. He managed to fight back to, I believe you said P4, if I'm not mistaken, or is that wrong?
P5,
P5, yes. Carlos was
P5.
P4, sorry. Yeah, because the Ferrari's got the 3-4. But and Oscar had that little shunt with Yuki Tsunoda, but I think we should be able to see
Yeah,
some pretty decent performance from those guys too. And I mean, we've got the sprint, we've got a very action-packed weekend, so I hope we get something along the lines of like Kevin Magnussen getting pole, maybe not K Mag again. I don't really see that happening, but it would be really cool because we're gonna have a little bit of weather. I think there's a chance for rain on Friday, so
yeah.
somebody could get you still get pole. Oh wait, I forgot how sprints work for a second. They're qualifying for
Mhm.
Sunday. It's so confusing,
Yeah,
but
that's so cool. Maybe like
yes,
an Alex Albon or someone can sneak in there.
yes, I'd love
The
that.
qualifying, I would say, has gotten a lot tighter last. I don't know, maybe Red Bulls kind of stopped their development for the season, but at least in terms of qualifying, we got the Ferrari on front row last week. Um, I don't know, it's one of those tracks where if you do, there are a lot of passing opportunities, but like if Lewis can get a good qualifying and get ahead after turn one, and maybe Max gets bogged down a little bit amongst the other guys, you never know. I've been hoping all year, and this is one of the at least if you were to rank like highest percentages of Lewis getting a win, this is definitely up there. So definitely hoping for that. I don't know. I'm not really sure what to want for Checo because I want Lewis to catch Checo at the standing on P2. But I'm starting to feel a little bit bad for Checo, and I don't know what I'm even rooting for. If I want him to be back next year, if I don't, I kind of just sometimes since we do a podcast, I just kind of root for like whatever the best storyline is going to be or whatever
Yeah,
the drama, and then kind of like, well, what if that does happen? Like, what if Danny Rick does go there or something? Then like I like those guys, and I don't like Red Bull. So there's a lot of factors involved, but let's kind of watch that. Yeah, pretty much just hoping that the same thing can happen with qualifying, where Max maybe gets bogged down and has to kind of cut through the field a little bit. Obviously, like I said, you can do that. Lewis did it. Max has done it before, so it can happen. I think the sprint getting kind of we've both discussed this, getting a little bit sick of them at this time, having them, so many of them this late in the year, like 3 and 4 weeks. Like if the season was on the line, it would seem kind of a little cheapening it a little bit. But maybe, I don't know, maybe not, because maybe the racing would be so good that we'd just be happy to have more competitive racing. I don't know, but they definitely got to do something about that. But yeah, I'm hoping Lewis and then McLaren. Yeah, I'd like to see like in a perfect world, like a Lewis, Oscar, Lando podium.
Oh my God. I would have to just like, I don't even know, like that'd be like just the best weekend for you.
Yeah, it would be fantastic.
I agree about the sprints though. Having this many, it's not helping. And like I think it'll probably be a decent sprint because this track lends itself to that. And I've been kind of going back and forth on my thoughts on if I think the sprint should stay. I don't like how we're screwing with the original format of Formula One, but the concept of a sprint every now and then. I know some people are super against reverse grid orders, but Lewis today said that, he won this GP from the back of the grid. So obviously he's down for that. But yeah, Sergio, I think I have come to the conclusion I like Checo, but I don't want to see him in the Red Bull seat next year. I really don't. Even if it ends up being Yuki Tsunoda, I would be okay with that. Like, or Liam Lawson, throw him in there. Like, I don't know. He just is so uninspiring, and he's just wasted that car. And he's had 3 full seasons with Red Bull. I mean, that's more than most drivers get, at least of late. So I don't know. I think if Red Bull decide to keep him for 2024, he has got to absolutely get his mind right in the off season and come back just fully ready to go. And that's hard. He's got a brand new child. He's got a full family. I mean, I can't imagine the difficulty for that. I mean, we know what someone like Nico Hulkenberg, he was like starving himself, cut off his family to only to beat Lewis. That's what it took. Just destroying his life, basically. So I don't know if he's going to be willing to do that. But if they do decide to keep him, I think that's just them being like, we're confident enough in Max that we're not really too worried about it.
Yeah.
As boring of a decision as that would be, I think. I don't see him getting a podium. Of course, now that I say that, he'll probably win this weekend. But I'm going to say Lewis is going to win. I predicted that 2 weeks and it hasn't happened. But I feel it. I feel it coming. I hope I'm not cursing him, jinxing it. Lewis is probably going to win, followed by Leclerc, because I need my boy to do good. The fact that he got P3 in Mexico, I think, is really, really. I mean, I don't know if he's necessarily Max and Lewis level, but I would put Leclerc in like the top 3 or top 5 most talented drivers on the grid. But that's really neither here nor there. So. Yeah, Lewis, Charles, and Max. Yeah, that'll be the grid.
Yeah,
so
inevitable.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a good weekend, though. I'm excited. But that's the good thing about sprint weekends is that Fridays aren't so casual. Because I still watch the free practice sessions, but I'm not as zeroed in. Like qualifying tomorrow, I'm gonna be watching. I'm very, very pumped for that. It's gonna be big.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's crazy for the engineers that they only get one, and like the teams, they only get that 1 hour practice, and sometimes they don't even get that whole hour because either weather or something goes wrong with the car and they have to fix it. Yeah, just one last thing on Checo. It did kind of seem like, I think we maybe discussed this, like there was almost a bit of him knowing that this was going to be his last chance to win the Mexican GP. Like that's why he sent it so hard on the first lap, because he knows maybe even if he is in a different team next year, realistically, they're not going to have a chance to win. So like maybe he knows he's out after the season and he's like, I just got to send it. If there's any race that he wants to win, obviously it's the Mexican GP. So I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of that, but you could just tell, like it looked like he was going to cry. Like I did feel bad for him, but that's racing. And if you don't, especially on a team like Red Bull, if you're not living up to that standard, then you're not going to be there. So again, so many interesting storylines up and down the grid. Interested to see how Danny Ricciardo does again. The McLaren boys, the Ferrari guys. don't want to see a repeat of George Russell, but I don't know if you can get 4th or 5th. Then good on. The standings is interesting. Like he's down there in 8th place. So
yeah, it's had a stinker of a season.
Yeah, not very good. But yeah, we'll be back next week to wrap it up. Anything else?
Yes, the only thing Friday, which is tomorrow, if you're watching this. Actually, if you're watching this, it'll be today. You're about to watch pre-practice 1, most likely. Or you've just watched it. There is a 40% chance of rain tomorrow. Unsettling with threatening cumulus clouds developing in the afternoon, moderate chance of showers, possibly thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening. So who knows? Maybe FP1 will be clear, and then qualifying, we might get a little bit of rain. Like I said, might get another crazy pole position. You never know. The only other thing is Daniel Ricciardo. I did just see this. He made a comment that Red Bull have not talked to him about taking over Checo's seat in 2024. So if Red Bull are planning a driver swap, they're being very, very quiet about it. They're not insinuating that whatsoever, which is very strange for them.
Yeah, I'm sure Helmut Marko will come out and say something at some point. But you just made me think one last thing. Yeah. If there is rain tomorrow and they have to set up the car for qualifying, it'll be interesting to see, because they go into they can't change the car after tomorrow. So even if it's raining during qualifying, but they need the car for sunshine in the race on Sunday, some teams are going to set up the car for qualifying to get a good qualifying, and some teams, the smart thing to do obviously is just set up the car for the race so you can make the spot back. But a lower team now might be like, hey, let's try and get our Fabregas in a moment and set our car up for rain and try and get at the top of the grid. So that would be kind of cool to see different setup if the rain does come during qualifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope it does, honestly, because usually rain equals more entertaining race or qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, send us out of here.
Yes, I think that's it. A little bit of a short episode this week. We usually try to go at least 45 minutes, but yeah, very slow news week. I mean, we can't talk about hypotheticals all episode, you guys. We got to have some concrete stuff, but come back next week and we will for sure have some concrete news. Hopefully some big updates are going to come out between now and next week, but who knows? We'll definitely be there for a recap of the Brazil GP. And then even though it's not the following weekend, we're going to for sure start talking about Vegas. So come back next week, and thank you guys so much for watching. Please share and rate the podcast, and we'll see you next week.